TYRON is the self-titled second studio album from Northampton-based rapper slowthai. From the very first minute that slowthai burst onto the scene, he's been viewed as somewhat of an anomaly in British hip-hop. Fitting into no traditional subgenre like drill or grime, for example, slowthai has made his name by amalgamating different sounds and influences together to make something new. His first album that dropped in 2019, Nothing Great About Britain, is a testament to that approach to making music. The first and title track on the song draws some very strong influence from the streets, from Mike Skinner. And when you get to the second track, Doorman, that's a completely new sound. It's a DIY punk hip-hop mashup. His diversity and refusal to be categorized in a way has garnered him acclaim both here at home in the UK and abroad, especially in the United States. He's just as comfortable collaborating with someone like Skepta or Heady One or AJ Tracey as he is collaborating with American artists like Denzel Curry or Brockhampton or Amine. His first album was extremely political and urgent in nature, with the United Kingdom dealing with the turmoil of both Brexit and Theresa May's premiership, and the lyrics in his first album strongly reflected what was going on. TYRON, however, is very autobiographical and introspective, especially in comparison to that first album. Feel Away with James Blake and Mount Kimby dropped as the first single from this new album in the autumn, and this sounded like a sharp turn of pace for slowthai, especially when you compare it to some of the loose singles that he was dropping earlier on in the year, like Body Bag and like Magic. It's super moody but bittersweet at the same time, with slowthai being at his most reserved and relationship focused than he has ever been before. And of course, the song was helped by an amazing vocal feature from James Blake as well as production from Mount Kimby. NHS was second to drop, and he was leaning even heavier into that more insular, poignant version of himself. NHS is a song that is all about accepting the bad that comes along with the good, as well as the imperfections that come along with life that make life what it is. And slowthai describes it in a way that only slowthai can. It's easily up there with the more heartfelt and pensive songs that slowthai has ever written, and it was pointing towards his second studio album being a very moody, down-tempo affair. That ended up being both true and false at the same time, with the release of the tracklist showing a split straight down the middle of 7 songs and 7 songs. 7 songs in capital letters and 7 songs in lowercase. The first 7 capital tracks, I guess you can call them, aesthetically are the kind of slowthai songs that we've come to know at this point, albeit a bit less confrontational and a bit more discursive. The first taste we got from these bunch of tracks was in the shape Mazza with A$AP Rocky. It's loud, the beat is super simple and repetitive, and it kind of sounds like the inside of slowthai's mind during a Mazza. Of course, that Mazzain, money pulling out. It's the kind of energy that we've come to expect from slowthai, and it makes it just that more addictive. Cancelled with Skepta is the album's second song, and holy fucking shit, that beat is amazing. This song had to be something special to follow up Inglorious, which was their previous collaboration on the first album, and it definitely lives up to the billing. slowthai seems to make some vague allusions and references to his near cancellation at the NME Awards last year. Whilst as usual, he drops some hilarious, witty bars, particularly the I shot caffeine like Costa bar. What's kind of strange about this song is slowthai essentially makes what is a cameo appearance on his own song. Skepta gets the intro and the hook and his own verse, whereas slowthai comes with a relatively brief single verse of his own. Skepta makes a wide range of references from Jodorowsky to Glastonbury to the Fugees, all with this flow that just burrows into your head like a fucking termite. On the song Vex, slowthai seems to be playing a kind of heightened, more antagonized version of himself. Ironically, he uses this character as a vehicle to vent his frustrations at other people in the music industry. His flow is fucking crazy, and it's got some of his most creative wordplay on the entire project. Particularly this set of bars, which I'm going to say verbatim because I just love them. At one point he says, "Sket's getting me stressed right now. Calm down, darling. Your pum-pum's loose. I see you're trying to flex right now. Don't care about you or your Jimmy Choos. I ain't playing Kiss Chase. I ain't playing Duck Duck Goose. Can tell that you ain't got a clue. Heard your man's mixtape. Thought it was a piss take, so I used its case to ash my zoot." That's poetry. Play With Fire is a song I find super interesting, especially for its unorthodox beat and kind of strange sample. slowthai talks about his motivation in the game as well as his tendency to retaliate if you box him in a corner, and he goes on to say that he does this for the broke youths. He says no money in the lunchroom, my brothers in the magistrates, those perceived to be at essentially the bottom or the underclass of society don't usually really have a voice, and on this song I feel that slowthai is and wants to be that voice. This song also serves as the bridge or transition into the second side of the album, where he becomes more openly emotional and contemplative. That starts with the song I Tried, and it has a kind of instrumental I've never heard slowthai spit on before. It kind of sounds Beatles-esque. Whilst he raps about his struggles, both growing up in Northampton and the struggles he's going through currently, he drops some of the most quintessentially British bars that you're ever going to hear. He drops bars about Sunday League, about rhubarb and custard, and about the Chuckle Brothers, and I for one can't think of three things that are more British. Aside from that, I Tried is like a peek into slowthai's mental state after he's quote-unquote made it in the game. Money and wide exposure aren't going to magically solve your problems, and slowthai provides some important perspective on that phenomenon. The next song, Focus, is a collaboration between a group of people that, in my opinion, could only have produced greatness and nothing else. slowthai enlists the help of Mount Kimby and James Blake again, as he did on Feel Away, but also adds Kenny Beats as well. As a result, Focus is a genuine contender for one of the best songs slowthai has ever written to date. I think the only way to describe the song is stunning. James Blake's voice being laced into the beat worked a treat on the song Body Bag, which dropped earlier last year, and that trick has worked again here. The somber pianos and really lax kind of drums make this such a melancholic song. Lyrically, it seems to be all about these cyclical patterns and fate and trying to break out of these so-called patterns. It's about slowthai trying to avoid that life of crime and violence that he's seen others succumb to when he was younger, and he says that he's focusing on some other shit, and that other shit being his art or his music. He places his priorities very clearly as well on this song. He says his music, his family, and his brothers, everyone else can go fuck themselves. I find Focus a very bittersweet song because although he believes that he has made it out, there's this overarching sense that he's still not the best version of himself that he could be. He says, lesser version of myself, shoe fits Cinderella. That shoe is fate and a certain life that is destined for a certain type of person. This song is the struggle trying to fight the fight to eventually destroy that metaphorical shoe. The album ends with the song ADHD, and this is where slowthai gets super introspective and vividly details his current mental state, particularly his depression and his anxiety and what seems to be a looming sense of loneliness as well. He references being caught in Charlotte's web and this idea of being saved from his own thoughts by those in his support bubble is really quite poetic. He also says, I'm vexed trying to smile like Mona Lisa, and of course her ambiguous expression is part of the allure. And I feel this particular bar is him kind of summing up the major themes and concept of the album. He's vexed on the first half of the album, and the second half of the album is him trying to smile through that feeling. And as a result, he ends up exploring his mental and emotional state. It's called TYRON for a reason. It's both parts equally as important as each other of who slowthai is as a real person behind closed doors. TYRON is very different from his first album. It's not about him trying to point out the flaws and the wrongs in society, but rather him looking inward and trying to deal with himself first. Those are my thoughts on the album. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Make sure to like, subscribe, and dong the bell. And I shall see you next time.